round 13, I do believe, of the Cross GT Racing My Team career journey on F1 2021. Brought us to the Circuit of the Americas for the USA Grand Prix. We headed into this race, I should say, with a 2-point advantage over Max Verstappen in the championship, coming off our 4th win in a row at the Russian Grand Prix in Sochi. We were riding a massive wave of momentum and had a pretty good qualifying session, finishing pole position in qualifying. This is, however, probably one of my worst tracks in the calendar, and we basically came in with the game plan of just trying to finish ahead of Max, just to keep that point advantage over him. Plenty of inconsistency throughout the race made this a much harder task than it really should have been, but we did the best that we could, running a 2-stop strategy, which most of the AI did. I think all the AI did a 2-stop. Softs, then mediums. Big lock up there led to a collision with signs, which kind of helped us out a little bit. It helped to keep some of the other cars behind them held up, some of the faster cars. But still quite a tough race. We did manage to keep some sort of pace with the top 3 in the 2 Red Bulls, and Pierre Gasly as well up there, who's been pretty consistent this season. However, we did only manage to claim P4, with Verstappen claiming the win in that race. So he now heads into round 14, third to last race, with a 12-point advantage over us. So in order for us to win the championship now, we need to basically maintain a 4-point advantage over him per race for the last 3 races of the season. Not impossible, but with worn engine components for, I would say, all teams, the risk of engine failures and parts malfunctions will be starting to increase. Hopefully we can keep luck on our side and come away with some good results for the last 3 races, as we are just finishing our banker lap here in the at Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix. We end up getting a decent 3rd lap, and the banker lap wasn't great, but we finally get into a rhythm for our 3rd lap. It is only good enough for P10 at this point, but we have a really good run through the first I'd say 3 or 4 corners here, and we are gaining plenty of time on our other laps. A little bit of inconsistency here, a little bit of tweaking of the setup after the first couple of laps that we did, and now we're settling into a pretty good rhythm, hitting these apexes pretty well. First lap we missed some of the apexes, and that really cost us a lot of time as we round the long left-hander down to the end of sector 2, and we are almost 1.5 seconds up. Purple through sector 2, currently sitting P11, Schumacher sitting P12, so we come round to the final DRS zone, up to the line, a 107.2. It's good enough for pole position at this point, but there's still 5 minutes left in the session. So we're currently sitting P1, Perez sitting P2. We're now on board with Max as he is circling around for what will be his final lap of this qualifying session. Current Drivers' Championship leader, 12 points clear of us, and his time is only good enough for P2. So we managed to keep him at bay, only a 10th, or just over a 10th of a second faster. We end up taking pole position. Max P2, and Schumacher only manages to get P8, which is still in the points, but our main concern is staying ahead of Max for the next 3 races.
Formula One returns to Sao Paulo once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Brazilian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his 3rd championship here in 2012, and in 2016, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. We're racing today then at Interlagos, a historic 2.7-mile circuit, and one of the few anti-clockwise tracks on the calendar. 15 corners in total, 9 to the left and 6 to the right, with a technical middle section opening up to a flat-out Sector 3. And that gives us our best passing opportunity down into Turn 1. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about the captain. They need 5th or better to ensure they stay in contention for the championship. Anything outside that, and their fate is no longer in their hands.
And they can do it for sure, as long as they don't dwell too much on the position. At the end of the day, there's only one way to go racing, and that's to give it everything you've got. Either your best is good enough to stay in the hunt, or it's not. There's no point giving any less than 100%.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. The captain lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Perez, Carlos Sainz, and Tsunoda. Hamilton, Michael Schumacher, Gasly, and Charles Leclerc.
Only 3 races left. You still have a chance at the title, but we're going to need some special performances. See what you can do.
So there is the starting grid for this race. We are in with a chance at still winning the championship. We do need, as Jeff said, some pretty special performances, and based on the calculations of the game, we need to get another 1.2 billion points if we want to win the championship, which I think is doable with the last 3 races. 1.2 billion points doesn't seem like much of a stretch. But the miscalculation aside, 5 red lights, we're off and away. I'm a little bit behind on the start of this race, and then I am also literally behind as Verstappen just completely breezes past us, and we are relegated to P2. We had to cut the corner there because our teammate Michael Schumacher came right up alongside us. He's now in P3, and I didn't want to cause an accident on the first, or the second corner I should say, with my teammate. So we take a corner cutting warning on the second corner of the race, but I had to do it. As we take a look at the replay here, and he has an awesome start, and he goes right up the inside. He almost gains P2 on us, but he gives the position back to us. Neither of us wanting to really compete there. At the end of the day, I'm sure Schumacher realizes that I need to finish ahead of Max. I need the points. Especially considering the fact that it's only a 2-horse race now. Gasly is now mathematically out of the running for the championship. It is really down to who finishes better in the next 3 races, either myself or Verstappen. So good that he left the space, backed off a bit, let me go, and I also made sure I gave the space to him in case he was looking to make a move. But it worked out pretty well. Verstappen in P1, and we're sticking with him. P2 for us, Schumacher in P3, and Perez in P4. So it's a Red Bull Cross GT Racing top 4. Hopefully, we can, Schumacher can maintain some good position throughout the race. We go wide, and we don't lose too much time though. Luckily, as it's some slow corners heading up, and our cars seems to be running pretty well through some of these corners. We are able to take them a little bit tighter, get a little bit better exit, and so we're not losing any pace to Verstappen. We are getting a little bit cheeky with our track limits, but we really need to push the boundaries here if we want to stick with them, because as you can tell, that Red Bull is super fast at this point. Maybe some slightly newer components put into that car. I'm still running some sort of average-ish components. I do have some fresher components, but I'd much rather keep them for the last race. I'm sure I can get through this race and the next one as we go P2, not P2, as we go purple through sector 1, and we are right behind Verstappen now. Really trying to use as much of the curb as possible, cut that corner, really cut down the time that we're having to slow down and give us more options on exit. And we're starting to slow down a little bit. Green through sector 2, still going faster, but losing a little bit of time to Verstappen coming out of sector 2 and through sector 3 as well. We're still in DRS range, which is good. We do manage to get a fastest lap, which is great. We really need as many points as we can get, so a fastest lap will definitely help with that. Schumacher still P3, but he's now 1.5 seconds behind us, so maybe some team orders there. Maybe Schumacher's been told to park the bus a little bit and just hold up the rest of the pack, just so that I can have a decent shot of Verstappen here. A little bit of a lock up here, heading into the right-hander, which means we're going to miss the apex on the left. That's alright, we can keep pushing through sector 2. Sector 2 quite a low speed, quite a technical part of the track, and it seems like we're doing, even though our time is a little bit slower, I'm able to mitigate some of the lost time if I miss the apexes through some of the other corners, which obviously hasn't worked out too well this time around, as Max is now outside of DRS range. We're having to rinse the battery to try and get that gap back. Schumacher's still outside of a second, but he is now gaining on us, and Max now is just starting to pull away, feeling more and more comfortable as time goes on. Maybe we should have looked into some newer components, but I feel like it's going to come down to the last race. I felt comfortable enough in qualifying, doing using the components that we had. They're not bad. Like, the durability is all maxed out, so we're not really having to take any engine penalties this season, other than when we had the couple of failures in the at Austria and in France. So car's still running pretty well, but you know, looking at this, maybe we should have taken some of the newer components, or the slightly less worn components, to keep up with Max. But it's still a long race. It's a long way to go. And as we take a look back now, Schumacher has managed to get into DRS range of us, and he breezes past us on the home straight, or that final DRS straight. We managed to push back in front. Probably not the best move to make, but we did have the pace coming out of turn 2 to go past. It does put Schumacher into a bit of trouble with Sergio Perez, but he does manage to hold on to P3. So we managed to maintain a position, which we really need to do, because we can't have Max really gaining too many points on us. But he is 3.5 seconds ahead of us at the moment. 15 laps down, or 15th lap I should say, 14 down. We're going to come into the lane this lap. We were meant to come in 1 or 2 laps ago, but the car still felt okay, and I kind of wanted to stretch out that stint as much as possible. We are meant to be doing a 2-stop, but with the tyre wear on the softs, I felt we could keep pushing, and then maybe push for a 1-stop, go onto the mediums, and then try and push from there. Mediums or hards, but probably the mediums. The softs are holding up relatively well, so I think the mediums would be a good tyre to go on to. As you saw for Verstappen, just sort of cruising along. He's well ahead. There's quite a big gap to him and then Schumacher, who is now in P2. And a really quick pit stop there from the guys, straight onto the mediums. 1.8 second pit stop, which is massive, and we definitely needed that. Now it's all about where we're going to come out of the pit lane. I don't really want to come out in too much traffic, so I'm going to duck in P19, which is effectively last at this point, because Sainz and Ricciardo were in the pits with me. So, yeah, just ducking in behind Norris, who unfortunately has been at the back for most of the race. That McLaren, in my opinion, really shouldn't be this far back. But end of the season, and it's been a lot. It's been sort of quite a rough season for McLaren, I think. So, not overly surprised. We do gain a few positions back, but it looks like everyone else is coming to the pits now. Schumacher's coming into the pits, and the car in front, or the car that ducked out in front of him, was Verstappen. So Verstappen got into the pits just in time. Could have been a possible hold up for him, but unfortunately he doesn't get held up. He jumps into the lane and pops out just in front of my teammate, and he is going to exit the pits just as I'm coming up behind him. I've got DRS on the Alpine of, I believe that is George Russell, and Schumacher trying to go on the inside. We're side by side now. He really needs to let me go. And I just end up like nudging my way around the inside of the corner. A big lock up there. We go into the grass a bit, and we are still side by side. I know he's really trying to push here. You know, it is a race and all, but that hasn't helped me at all. It's slowed me down a little bit, but we do manage to get in front. He is on fresher tyres, he's on colder tyres, so we do have a little bit of an advantage there. But I really needed for him to just back off a little bit and give me that space, give me the position back, because we're facing an uphill battle here, trying to catch up to Verstappen. We do have the pace to catch him, I believe, now that we're on the mediums, but it is going to be a bit of work. And we managed to pull out. Looks like Bottas exiting the pits. Perez exits right next to us. He's on cold mediums as well. We're side by side. He's pushing. If he can get back in front of us and hold us up, this race is all for Max. He manages to get back in front, but we make a big dart up the inside, heading into the tight right-hander, and he yields the position, gives it to us, and we manage to get back in front. Max, oblivious to all this happening, is just off on a little bit of a Sunday drive. He's so far ahead. He gets to the end of the DRS straight, that first DRS straight, and there's no one to be seen. I'm sitting P2, and I am not even in the picture. It's almost like we're just watching a little exhibition lap for like a brand new Red Bull Formula 1 car, because Max is all by himself. We can hear him, but we cannot see him. He's so far ahead. But we're going to keep pushing. 7 seconds is the gap, and we are 19 laps into this race. So 17 laps left to go. And we're going to have to pull out all the stops if we want to get anywhere near him. Perez is sticking with us. He's in DRS range. We don't want to let him get in front of us, so we're going to use our battery to stay ahead. But it's going to be pretty tough to keep up.
Good pace. You're catching the car in front by a second per lap. Check your MFD for a new strategy option.
So we are managing to gain on Verstappen now.
Copy that.
A change to the strategy. It looks like they want to bring us in a few laps time to go on to soft compound tyres. Original plan B, we come in lap 25, moving that to lap 26. I don't think we need to go in for another stop. We've got 15% tyre wear on the front right and 13% on the front left, and we did go into the pits at the end of at the start of lap 16, so we've already done 5.5 laps, and we're only at 13 and 16% on the front. So I think we can make these last to the end of the race. I don't think we're going to be losing too much time if we hold out that long, especially considering 2 laps ago we were 6.9 seconds behind, and we're now only 5.1. So we are gaining. We've also got a fastest lap, and that was with no DRS, no slipstream. We are too far behind Max to gain any time. That is just outright pace of this car, and we're getting fastest lap on medium tyres. So we definitely have the pace needed to catch up. It's just all about the consistency, just maintaining what we've got, and it's showing that we can do it. As a lap later, we get another fastest lap. We were purple through sector 2, green in sector 3, and we're now only 3.9 or around, floating around 4 seconds behind Verstappen. So we are gaining on him by a second a lap. We are having to use a little bit of the battery to keep pushing. Max, I would assume, is not using much battery, if any at all. He's so far ahead. But yeah, we're just really pushing. I'm probably pushing more at this point in the race than I have, I think, in any other part of any of the races this season. And we've had some pretty tight battles with Max and some of the other drivers throughout this season. But yeah, I'm really sweating here. Like, this is pushing to the absolute limit to try and catch up with him. And it is working. But it's not so much about can we catch up to him now, because at this rate we will. It's more about, can we get these tyres to last to the end? Can we maintain this pace and this consistency right up to the checkered flag? You know, or are we going to push too hard, and is Max going to overtake us at the end? And also, if we're pushing this hard, are our engine components going to hold up? Are we going to have to deal with an engine failure? You know, these are all things that are running through my mind at this point while I'm making this big push to Max. But the car feels really good, so I'm really not too worried about it. I feel like we're doing pretty well. And Schumacher's in P5. He's still in the top 5, which is good. Perez is behind us. He's now 5 seconds behind us. So we've gained so much time on Max and dropped Perez by a lot. Max is now only just over a second in front of us. We're now right behind him. So a few laps ago, he was, you know, driving down straights and going around corners, and there's nothing in his mirrors. There's no other car on the track. And now all of a sudden, he sees the shine of the Cross GT Racing machine coming up behind him. A little bit of a slide heading into that DRS zone, but we still managed to get DRS on that final straight, and we managed to pump out yet another fastest lap. And the team are ready for me to come into the pits, but we're not going to come in. It's lap 26. We should be coming in this lap, but we're only sitting at 28% on these tyres. We should be able to get to the end before we really get any sort of a risk of a punch or anything like that. So we're going to keep pushing. We're right behind Max. He's probably not going to stop. I can't imagine he's going to go into the pits. Especially not now that we're right here. Because if either one of us pits now, the other one just has to stay out and it's game over. It's just handing the win. So we're going to be stubborn and stay out. Max is probably going to be stubborn and stay out as well. And at the rate that things are going, it's going to come down to just outright pace of the car. And I fully believe that we have the better pace of the car. We go around the outside of the right-hander, and it's into the inside of the left, and we manage to overtake Max. He's going to make a move back around the outside, but we just push him out. We close the door, and we have now moved up in front of Max. We should have been going to the pits this lap to go onto new soft compound tyres. We've opted to stay out, and it has resulted in us taking P1 in this race. Max, of course, is still right behind us. He's going to get DRS here, so he was going to get a pretty easy position back there, but he just miscalculated a little bit, lost a lot of time, and now he manages to still get P1. But that little miscalculation back at the that final little bend before the start-finish line meant that he actually had to ease off, and he hasn't gained as much time as he really should have. We're now right behind him. Bit of contact on that back left wheel. We were in prime position there to make another pass. but that contact has put an end to that passing opportunity. We go a little bit wide up the right-hander, but luckily there's no front wing damage. If there was, that could have been our chance at a win completely gone there. But luckily, things are still looking good. We are still right behind Max. And all we need to do is just play this smart, not make too or any sort of rash decisions or aggressive moves, and just just try and pick our spot, get back in front, and try and hold on until the end. As we come up to the start-finish line, lap 29 now, so we've got 8 laps left in this race. We look to go around the outside of turn 1, running a bit wide, which turns into a really poor entrance and exit for turn 2. And Max is starting to pull away, but we're going to use the battery. We've still got DRS, and our car just got so much power heading down that straight, so we managed to keep up with Max. But that opportunity is wasted, and we are now having to bide our time and just wait for the next opportunity to arrive. 37% tyre wear now as we head around into the final DRS straight. We're only 7 tenths behind Verstappen, gaining on him pretty quickly. It's a pretty long straight, so we've got plenty of time to claw back some of the track, and plenty of tyre wear still left in these tyres. 7 laps left, and at this rate I'm not worried about tyre wear at all. It's really just going to come down to who can utilise what tyre performance we have left at the end of the race. And Max is in a little bit of trouble. We duck up the inside, a little bit of contact there. It doesn't look like it's anything too heavy. We're still side by side. I think another little bit of contact there on the wheels. We managed to get back in front. Verstappen looking to go on the outside again, but we managed to hold him off. A little bit of a slide. Verstappen is right there, but we managed to hold on to P1 as we head around the, I guess that'll technically be the third to last corner of this lap. Max right behind us. He's going to have DRS. We go into the grass a little bit, and we try to squeeze into the inside. He makes quick work of us here, but again, not able to capitalise as much as he should have, or as much as he could have been able to. Thanks to our little slide and our little mistake there. And now we're all over the place. We lose control of the back end of the car. We go into the grass. We managed to hold on to it just enough. We haven't lost any time to Max, and in fact we've actually managed to get the inside after the straight, and we've managed to make an amazing pass on him. So we went in one straight from almost losing the car. So take a look here, a little bit of a slide on the curb onto the grass. We managed to hold on to it and maintain control of the car, and then we just use the space of the track that Max gives us and the acceleration of our car to just breeze past on the inside. We've managed to turn what could have been a horrible situation into a massive passing opportunity, and that has yielded us with a P1, with an overtake into P1, and it's a couple of laps later now, and we're actually outside of DRS range to Max. He hasn't had an answer to that last move we did, and we are sitting pretty at the moment. 48% or 49% tyre wear now on the front right. We've only got 3 laps left, so well out of puncture range still. All we have to do is just keep pushing, maintaining this pace and this consistency, and up the road now. Looks like the Haas of Nikita Mazepin, there's an engine failure there, so he is now retiring, but he is retiring right in front of us. And at that point there, I wasn't sure what he was going to do, where he was actually going to go, so I ended up slowing down to make sure I had plenty of space to get past him. And that's actually opened the door a bit for Max, who is now in DRS range, and he is rapidly gaining on us. But luckily we managed to stay ahead. He hits the apexes a little bit better, So now we need to just really hope that we can maintain some decent pace. 2 laps left and Max is now only 4 tenths behind us. We went from having almost a 1.5 second gap to him to now being completely under pressure, as we try to use as much of the track as we can to try and close the door, not leave any open space for him to squeeze through and pass us. We managed to hold him off in Sector 1. Sector 2, probably much harder to pass him, full of slow speed corners, really windy section of the track. We managed to stay ahead. We're 9 tenths clear, and I don't know if we're going to be able to keep him out of DRS range heading around into the final DRS zone, or the second DRS zone of this track. We go wide uncharacteristically there, and we get ourselves a track limits warning, and Max is still within DRS range, so he's still catching up to us. Final lap of this race. We need to hold on here. It's really going. This is going to decide, or this could essentially decide, whether we have a shot at the championship or whether Max is going to run away with it. We're in the box seat at the moment, still sitting in P1. Max isn't able to get too close to us. He's 6 tenths behind us, but we're heading around into Sector 2, into the windy section of the track. It's going to be very hard for him to make a pass here, and we are going to use every inch of the allowable space to try and keep him at bay. We go wide, a little bit of a lock up there at the tight right-hander, but Max is too far back to be able to make any kind of attack there, any move to really put us under pressure. We go a little bit slower through that left-hander just to try and make sure we get around there nice and cleanly. Heading down the final straight up to the checkered flag. Max has got DRS, but he's too far back. Back up on top. Another win this season. That's what we needed, especially with the championship being so tight. Brazilian Grand Prix, we come away with a win. Only 2 races left in the season, and it is still all to play for, as Michael Schumacher gets driver of the day.
It wasn't always plain sailing today, but a very important win nonetheless. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
A show-stopping performance from the 3 drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure.
Back up on top of the podium again. We went 4 wins in a row, and then we didn't even make the podium in the last round at the Circuit of the Americas. But we're back on the podium again, back at the top. Another win this season. Just finishing 4 tenths, 4.5 tenths ahead of Max. Very, very close at the end there. Max still ahead in the Drivers' Championship, but we have managed to pull back 8 points on that lead. Sergio Perez rounding out the podium. Another double podium for Red Bull. So many points for them, for their team in their bid for the Constructors' title. We are now only 4 points behind Max Verstappen. Pierre Gasly now way out of the points, 99 points behind. He is definitely not getting a Drivers' Championship this year. He's been doing pretty well, but it's I think his championship is over. Now it's just up to him to try and consolidate P3. Red Bull gaining, or now only 60 points ahead of us actually. So Schumacher's 5th place win meant that we actually did gain some points on Red Bull. Not many, I think it was like 3 or 4 points we've gained on them. Technically still in with a chance at winning the Constructors, but only 2 races left. Try and pull back a 60-point lead. I don't see that happening. So it's they're probably going to come away with the constructors at this point, unless catastrophe strikes and they just have massive engine failures in both cars, which we have seen happen to them in the real world. So it's not outside the realm of possibility. But our biggest concern is making sure that we come out on top in the Drivers' Championship. 2 more races to go. We've got the Australian Grand Prix next, which is probably also one of the ones I'm not overly good at, but I'm feeling pretty confident heading into it. And then of course we have the season finale in Abu Dhabi, which I am hopefully going to try and get done as soon as possible, so that I can get straight into a brand new My Team career in F1 23. But that brings us to the end of this race weekend. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like. Let me know what you thought in the comments. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. It would really help me out a lot. And hopefully we can maintain this this momentum that we've got into the next race. Only 4 points in the championship, 2 races left. Who's going to win this season's Drivers' Championship? I'll see you guys all in the next one.